So, Göbekli Tepe, brother, if there is such a thing as an ancient conspiracy theory, it's this. So
we have dogs. We also have the resident cats. We have the resident cats at Göbekli Tepe.
The oldest fully elaborated megalithic site that we know of anywhere in the world.
And we can see that they've drilled right down into the actual site to keep this canopy over us.
You know, I know it's been theorized that it was purposely covered in dirt.
Cementing the wall. That bucket that you see there is cement, so he's cementing this all into place.
We've never before known or imagined even that simple hunter-gatherers could produce such spectacular monumental structures.
Now water runs off down here, pours down in here. There's a huge puddle. It doesn't make any sense.
Arguably the most mysterious structure in all of human history.
Welcome to Göbekli Tepe.
Well, today you find me standing on a very windswept plateau in southeastern Turkey, just 12 kilometers northeast of the city of Şanlıurfa. That is the city I based myself so I could visit this ancient and historical site. But what is this place? Well, back in the 1980s, if you were cramming for a history degree and someone mentioned Göbekli Tepe, you would hear the sound of crickets. There will be no mention. It was just a forgotten hill until the amazing Klaus Schmidt's team started digging here in 1995. They blew the lid off what we thought we knew about early humans.
It's one of the most important projects of the last years. That's not only my words, I'm the director of this project. It's a project in southeastern Turkey at a site called Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe means mound with belly, or mound with belly.
But today we're not just retelling that story. We're exposing how the rush to turn this into a tourist cash cow might be burying the real truths faster than the ancients did. It is my belief that the road to profit is doing a disservice to archaeology here.
Well, welcome to another one of my videos. Here you find me at Göbekli Tepe. I am at the visitor center. I'm about to engage in probably the most important archaeological place in the world. So I'm going to go in, join me.
Imagine you were studying history back in the 1980s. Göbekli Tepe wouldn't even register. There were no textbooks even mention this. So if you speak to your parents or your grandparents, and they were educated pre-millennium, they might not know a thing about this place. It was just an unassuming hill in southeastern Turkey. That was until German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt kicked off the digs in 1995, the year of Britpop. But to Schmidt, this would be the year that would rewrite everything we know about human civilization, unleashing revelations that shattered our timeline of human progress.
So they've really commercialized this place since really discovering it back in 1994. It was discovered in the late 60s, but it wasn't really grasped what this place was until 1994, when Klaus Schmidt, the amazing German archaeologist, thought this place needs to be excavated, and that is exactly what he did. Although they say only 5% of this place has been excavated. This ticket, or this little barcode here, if you were to scan this barcode, it gives you access to the app.
So what exactly is Göbekli Tepe? Well, picture this, a sprawling archaeological marvel dating back over 11,500 years. Around 9,600 to 8,200 BC, making it the oldest monumental architecture on Earth. And as long as we stick to the mainstream numbers, that's thousands of years before Stonehenge, thousands of years before the Egyptian pyramids, which are, according to mainstream scientists, 4,500 years old. For many followers of this channel, you know that I believe the Great Pyramid is far older than what we have been led to believe, and possibly older than this site, but that's for a completely different video. But more importantly, we're discussing Göbekli Tepe today. The thinking is it was built by prehistoric hunter-gatherers, people we once thought were too nomadic and survival focused to create anything this grand. It's a complex of massive stone enclosures carved from local limestone. At its heart are those iconic T-shaped pillars towering up to 6 meters, 20 feet, and weighing 10 to 50 tons each, arranged in circular or oval rings up to 30 meters across. These aren't just rocks, they're adorned with intricate carvings of wild animals, lions, bulls, foxes, snakes, birds, scorpions, plus abstract symbols like H-shapes, crescents, handbags that I will discuss later, and discs. The pillars themselves often look humanoid, with arms, hands, belts, and loincloths etched in, suggesting they represent ancestors or deities or shamanic figures. What blows my mind is this predates what the mainstream thinking of when our agriculture started. Settled villages, predating pottery, metal tools, or writing. Mainstream history said farming sparked his civilization, surplus food freeing time for big builds and complex societies. But Göbekli Tepe flips that right on its head. Here, spiritual or ritual drives seem to have pulled communities together first, hauling these megaliths from quarries up to 500 meters away without wheels or beasts. Schmidt, who led until 2014, dubbed it the world's oldest temple, a sanctuary for feasts, ceremonies, maybe even skull cults. Modified human bones have been found at this site. Geophysics scans show over 20 enclosures, but only 10 to 15% has been excavated so far. It's part of the Taş Tepeler, the Stone Hills network spanning 100 square kilometers, including sites like Karahan Tepe, which I will be visiting in a later video, so click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and Cyberge, which I also will be visiting. So please do click that subscribe button and you will be notified as soon as that video is released. All of these ancient sites hint at vast prehistoric culture in Upper Mesopotamia. Now this video isn't just a tour, it's an expose on how the push for profit, tourism booms, corporate sponsorships might be sidelining the science. With 800,000 visitors in 2025 alone, is the focus on flashy exhibits over unearthing truth?
So as I walk away from the visitor centre and I try to find my way up to the archaeological site, you have to realise that this asphalt, concrete in some places, the entire visitor centre, all of these trees, wooden planks, this walk up to the archaeological site has been put over a site that is 12,000 years old, and archaeologists only excavated 5 to 10% of it. 10% at best, probably 5% if we're being realistic. Now, that isn't unnormal for archaeological sites. Not everything always gets dug up. There is this thinking that sometimes sites will be dug up later when technology becomes better. We now have things like LiDAR, which penetrates the ground. We have new types of tools. We have all this new technology that didn't even exist 100 years ago. So waiting 100 years has been a godsend for certain archaeological sites. But you'll notice off in the distance, olive trees. All around this site, for some reason, olive trees have been planted. Well, the excuse was to increase the land value, but that's a poor excuse. The land value of this place is priceless. This is probably one of the most important archaeological sites in the world. Look, we have new olive trees here. Olive trees all over the place. And these olive trees obviously have roots. The roots are going down. Now the suggestion is, oh, there's nothing here, there's nothing here. But they don't know this. They really don't know what was put down. Klaus Schmidt's wife is on record as saying what has happened here in terms of laying the asphalt has been a crime against humanity and a crime against civilization and archaeology. But we're going to go in. Hello. How are you? Yeah?
How are you?
Very well, very well. Thank you very much. Thank you. I note there are minibuses for the lazy. Dogus is the people that finance this place. I'm not going to take the minibus because I want to take it all in. I'm going to walk up to the main site. So obviously if you do visit this place, you can get the minibus. I think it's worth trying to understand the immensity of this site. They say it's something like 20 football fields. I could be getting that number wrong. It is actually this many football fields. It's an immense site. What you got to realize, what I'm walking over right now is archaeological significance from 12,000 years ago. We are walking on freshly laid stones, freshly laid concrete. But, you know, this is what mass tourism is. I quizzed the guy at the front desk when I bought my ticket. I said, how many people a day visit this place? Because I've seen a statistic that they had 1 million visitors last year. Well, I asked him, so how many people are you getting at the moment? Obviously, statistics can obviously be a little bit out of date. He says he's getting 5,000 people a day. Now, if you calculate that, let me do a calculation for you. 5,000 times 21 euros, that's 105,000 euros a day. Now, obviously, they've got to pay staff, they've got all the upkeep and everything. Times 365, 38,325,000 is the revenue, and that's if they're getting 5,000 a day. Now, looking around, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people. Tour buses, people in cars. So they're making a lot of money. You can understand why they wanted to stop the dig and why they wanted to build this asphalt and why they wanted to have the minibuses run up and down from the path. Now you can see it up in the distance to the main site. You see that? You see the main site? We can only hope that there was nothing significant under this road. That's all I'm saying.
So as we ascend this paved trail to Potbelly Hill, Göbekli Tepe's Turkish name, you're entering a buried world. This man-made mound perched on a limestone ridge near the Syrian border was first noted in 1963 as a possible Byzantine cemetery. But Schmidt's 1994 survey revealed protruding T-pillars, and digs confirmed this. No graves, but a Neolithic bombshell. 9,600 to 8,800 BC, with large circular enclosures.
Now, the first thing I noticed is the fact that this is up on a hill. This civilization's been called the Hill People in terms of the hill. There's actual terminology for that, but all of the civilizations, the Tepes, that basically means the place on the hill. And we have 500 meters to go until we get to the main site. It's a very pleasant walk. It's not too hot today. Peak summer though, temperatures will get to 40, 45, 50 degrees Celsius sometimes. So it does get hot here. I have to admit, I'm getting excited. Well, I've been excited actually for days and days, and if not weeks, knowing that I was coming here. This has been the build-up. This last little bit of walking up on the sacrilege that is the shitting on archaeology, destroying it by building these paths. But I'm still excited. I'm still super excited. You can see they're still working on this to build more paths all around the sites, although over the site. But I'm excited because I've been thinking about this a long time. I remember the first time I heard about this on one of the early Joe Rogan podcasts, then Graham Hancock talking about it.
The carbon dating in all the area around Göbekli Tepe is somewhere around 12,000 years. Is that correct?
11,600 years ago is
so
the earliest they found so far, but a great deal of Göbekli Tepe is still underground.
Then Bright Insights talking about it.
The world's oldest, largest, and arguably the most mysterious structure in all of human history.
And then many others talking about it, and I'm not gonna list off all of the people that have done this place a real amazing service, but they are to be noted because without those there probably been less attention on this place. And also Klaus Schmidt, 1994, really bringing this into the public eye.
The T-shapes are unique in history. We don't have T-shapes in the Paleolithic period before. We don't have them after the time of Göbekli Tepe with ends.
It wasn't until I think it was a goat herder or some farmer basically stumbled across one of the T-shaped blocks did they realize they were onto something. Now look at this, there's a whole cottage industry. As we could work out, 34 million a year in revenue. That's a significant amount of revenue, especially to the Globus organization. Now we should look into that organization. What is their affiliation with the World Economic Forum. Now I know that's going to suddenly turn off a lot of people going, oh, don't mention the World Economic Forum, but why are they even involved in this place? That question has to be asked, and I think it's incredibly important to ask that question. They're not the lovely people that Keir Starmer claims they are, the Davos elite.
Davos or Westminster?
Davos.
Why?
Because Westminster is too constrained.
But let's have a look at this place. As you can see, the crowds are here. Let's turn it round.
While we're walking around here, I do want to give a little bit of background on this. Please make some observations as we walk around here. For example, note the pillars. I'll talk about those more later, but just look at how carelessly they have drilled down there to support this platform. But I think it's also important to talk about this place and the history of this place. So do bear with me. Hopefully, we're all going to learn something here. After the discovery of the round circle and the T-pillars, they found rectangular rooms, loin motifs, and more. But it is thought, by 8200 BC, activities fade, the site gradually buried by erosion, quakes, and landslides. That's the mainstream thinking, at least. Experts suggest it wasn't a deliberate cover-up. They point to natural forces like erosion, earthquakes, and landslides slowly entombing the site over millennia. But as I stand here gazing over this ancient landscape, I can't help but wonder, what secrets are still locked away beneath my feet? Now let's dig deeper into these enclosures. Each one has a potential ritual hotspot that's got historians buzzing. Take Enclosure D for instance. Those two massive central pillars towering 18 feet high and weighing a whopping 8 tons each stand proudly on bedrock pedestals, facing off like giant sentinels carved with what look like fox pelt loincloths. They scream shamanic vibes, guardians of some forgotten ceremony. The outer pillars feel alive with eerie carvings, vultures sporting human legs, headless figures that hint at excarnation rites where birds might have stripped flesh from the bones in a macabre funeral practice. The floors used to be polished, smooth as glass with benches circling the space. Perfect for gatherings of tribes coming together under the stars. At first, no signs of everyday life like domestic waste, but newer evidence is blurring those lines. Tools for processing wild cereals, hidden water cisterns, even hints of early homes tucked into the slopes. This is not an isolated worship spot. It feels like a seamless blend of sacred and secular, where seasonal rites could have sparked the first sparks of cooperation among the hunter-gatherers. But how on earth did they pull it off? These weren't kings with armies, these were hunter-gatherers organised in tight-knit kin groups, powered by epic wild feasts. Gazelle bones are everywhere, telling tales of massive barbecues. However, scientists suggest no sign of hierarchy jumps out at us. No fancy palaces or elite graves, yet the artistry is unreal. 3D reliefs of fierce predators symbolising raw power, prey animals evoking abundance and survival. And those abstract icons, could they be the precursors to writing? A groundbreaking 2024 study by Martin Sweatman even suggests Pillar 43, the famous vulture stone, might be the oldest lunar-solar calendar on record, charting comets and seasons, possibly capturing the chaos of the Younger Dryas impact around 11,600 BC, when comet fragments plunged into Earth, causing probably the Great Flood and a mini ice age, and wiping out so many large beasts. Hunter-gatherers didn't kill the great beasts. The Younger Dryas impact did, I think.
So I want to understand what's going on here. We had this enclosure that was probably put up by the organisation Dogus. Dogus say this is protecting the ancient site down there. 12,000 years old it is, and now it's exposed to the elements. It was buried probably around about 8,000 to 9,000 years ago, but it was buried to protect it, probably buried so we would find it in the future, and those that understood the heavens in terms of they understood the positioning of the stars would understand what this meant, because it seems like this is a star map. It seems it's a map to the stars above us. It's positioned in alignment with the stars. Now, were they trying to warn us about something? Were they just trying to tell us about a very significant event? The Younger Dryas impacts that probably happened about 12,500 years ago probably impacted this civilization greatly, and they still remember it, and they thought, well, let's document that. And the best way to document anything was to basically carve in stone. Now, the T-shaped pillars that you see in the middle, I personally think they represent man and woman. There's a man facing a woman, and all around them are the animals. But it's the animals of the sky above us. Now, that's what I personally think. Sagittarius, Scorpio, all of the different star features that they would have looked up from these lands. And if you think about it, there would have been no light pollution. The only light pollution back then would have been the fires, the camps, the small campfires. But most of the time, you'd be looking right up at the sky and you would see the most remarkable sight. You'd see the heavens above you. So the heavens above them meant a lot to them. So they were documenting the heavens, and they were positioning the alignment of when maybe the impact that the stones talk about show. Some people theorize that some of the stones are showing impact of an asteroid hitting this planet, and then great floods or great fires sweeping across the planet, which would have happened 12,500 years ago. So maybe that's what they were trying to tell us, that story. Or maybe they're trying to warn us that when the heavens are aligned in the same fashion that they were back then, it may happen again. It's not unheard of that these things are cyclical and they can happen again and again. But the scary thing is, I think, as we look around at all these people, not because all these people are here to enjoy themselves, we look at where the posts are, the positioning of the posts, we look at where they're aligned, and we can see that they've drilled right down into the actual site to keep this canopy over us. Now, this canopy is not protecting us from the elements. Okay, it's shading us from the heat when tourists are here during the day and it's 45 degrees. It's creating some sort of shade, so it's not completely uncomfortable for the tourists. We've paid 21 euros to get in. But it isn't shading anything from the elements. When the snow comes in the winter, this place is full of snow. When the rain comes in, this place gets full of water. Every single raindrop is dissolving all of this limestone. Limestone that was protected for all this time up until the excavation. Now it is no longer protected. This is flimsy. Water runs off down here, pours down in here. There's a huge puddle. It doesn't make any sense. You'll notice also pigeon droppings everywhere. Pigeon droppings will dissolve the limestone, will dissolve the artifacts. It's really corrosive, really destructive. And then obviously we see animals walking around. Now, I love dogs, but the dog's going to be shedding material. The dog might be taking a pee. You don't know what the dog's going to be doing, and it's all ending up down there. And I think that's a real crime against humanity. See, this is what I've come to really see. You see this stone right here. I don't know if you can see it there, pointing that one. That is the stone, probably the most significant stone on the site. It is Circle D, but you've got the vulture, and most significantly on top of that, you've got the handbags. Now, the handbags you'll see in Assyrian, Sumerian, you'll see them in Aztec, you'll see them in Mayan civilization, you'll see them in Egyptian civilizations. Handbags that looks similar to maybe what astronauts carry. I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe those handbags are something else. Maybe we see handbags and things these days because we see handbags everywhere. Not on the market stalls, not in the bazaars, but we see them down there. And that I find remarkable.
The site's, of course, burst into the public eye thanks to Klaus Schmidt's digs in the 2000. It was splashed across the National Geographic covers and the TED stages. Then came the 2018 UNESCO World Heritage Stamp, skyrocketing tourism and turning this quiet hill into a global hotspot. But the real explosion, Netflix's 2023 Ancient Apocalypse of Graham Hancock, plus the Joe Rogan podcast featuring Jimmy Corsetti. That's when alternative theories went viral, captivating millions. Fame's a double-edged sword, though. Is all this buzz slowing down the real science in favour of profit? In 2025, restorers glued those iconic pillars back together and rebuilt walls using ancient tricks right down to goat head mortar. Bold move, but controversial.
A little bit of a crowd here, but you'll notice the pillars just behind me here. Some people believe the stone was all here to support the pillars, but I think the stone that we see here is similar to the stone flooring that came in later years. The stone flooring that would have been put in to basically bury this place. So they would have layered this place and put the stone flooring in. I think this stone was meant to hide what we see over here. When the crowd was here earlier, I was deceived into thinking that this guy was an archaeologist. He's not. He's simply cementing the wall. That bucket that you see there is cement, so he's cementing this all into place. Why are these walls being preserved in this manner when It's the big monoliths. These should be excavated. This doesn't make any sense. I'm really confused by this. Answers in the comments if you can understand why they're permanently sealing this place up with cement.
The fresh hauls from 2025 are mind-blowing though. A life-sized human statue unearthed right in Göbekli Tepe itself, mounted horizontally in a wall between enclosures B and D, like a votive offering straight out of the Neolithic rituals, forcing us to rethink their spiritual world. Over at the sister site Karahan Tepe, which I have visited and I will post a video about, brought the first ever T-pillar etched with a human face, plus an amphitheatre and an 11,000-year-old building that screams early community vibes. Cyberge, which I also visited, revealed over 50 structures dating back 12,600 years, pushing the timeline even further. And another Tepe site, Sefer Tepe, has delivered even more artifacts. Neolithic gems across the Taş Tepeler network, from figurines and vessels to necklaces with human-shaped heads. And get this, in February 2026, reports from Adıyaman uncovered Göbekli-style T-pillars in a dam reservoir, expanding the whole cultural map. Even Mendek Tepe might be older, with early storage hints suggesting permanent sediments were brewing sooner than we thought. Gasu Tepe, a post-Göbekli site, just dropped new 9,000-year-old figurines in December 2025, illuminating life after the big pillars. These finds are rewriting prehistory before our eyes. Not crude nomads, but sophisticated groups mastering symbolism, astronomy, and vast networks. Yet with all this excitement swirling, the digs seem to lag. But why the hold-up? Well, enter the big players, Dogus Holdings, a Turkish powerhouse spanning finance, automotive, construction, media, and tourism, raking in over 198 billion Turkish lira just from the auto arm alone, with group-wide revenue topping $7 to $8 billion annually. Their 2016 Davos deal with Turkey's cultural ministry, that was a cool $15 million for 20-year oversight, which spawned the fairly small but slick visitors centre, fancy branding, and yes, the sensory experiences designed to draw crowds like magnets. But here's where it stings: the disservice to discovery. After Schmidt's passing in 2014, the vibe shifted from deep excavation to dazzling displays. Digs inched from 5 to 10% uncovered back then to just 10 to 15% by 2026. Even as scans tease buried treasure waiting below. Preservation first, they claim. Fair enough, you could say, but that enormous steel and membrane roof shielding the digs, it's been slammed since 2018 by Schmidt's widow. She thought it was outright destructive, and I have to agree with her. You can see the concrete foundations, heavy machinery thundering over fragile earth. The whole thing feels risky and it feels reckless. The profit angle, well, tourism, as I've stated, has exploded. 800,000 visitors in 2025. 2026 is probably going to be bigger. This pumps serious cash into Şanlıurfa's economy, but archaeology is paying the price. And archaeologists that have worked on this project, who have stepped aside, should hang their heads in shame to allow this to be happening. UNESCO is claiming it's keeping an eye, but they clearly are not. I don't buy these excuses. Now, Jimmy Kilsetti over at Bright Insights nailed the olive tree scandal. 800 trees planted on unexcavated spots by the landowners before the government buyout, all to jack up compensation. Olives are a goldmine crop. Those roots snaking deep, potentially shattering hidden artifacts below.
When exactly were these two orchards of trees, which are located in the midst of ruins of Göbekli Tepe, when were they planted? Because I found an aerial photograph from 2004, and as you can see, these two sets of orchards were not there at this time as compared to a more recent photo.
Now this is really unfortunate. I've been trying to get access to behind Göbekli Tepe and it's not happening. I contacted them in advance saying, hey, I'm coming. Would it be okay that we get access to this back bit just so I can go around the site? No response at all. When I arrived, I asked them again. Oh, they go, no, you can walk around, No, you can't walk around. There's this tape here. Now I've tried crossing the tape. The security is saying no. It's a path, it's a normal path. So I think normal day people can walk around, but maybe they're doing some maintenance. Or maybe they're trying to hide the fact that behind there are lots of olive trees and olive trees are disrupting the site. That could be what they are hiding right now. It was open until the controversy of the olive trees, and now no longer can you get round the back of the site to see them.
Thank God for Jimmy Corsetti, because he produced a fantastic set of videos that highlighted this problem. And thankfully, because of those videos, they have now removed the olive trees. But while they were there, you got to realize the watering of them would have eroded the stonework. And it's really thanks to people like Corsetti who were able to join the dots that connects the World Economic Forum Davos elites to this site. And the suggestion is they're suppressing history, which they are. I understand the trees weren't planted by archaeologists. They were monitored, but hugely damaging. So any archaeologist to allow that to happen is doing a disservice to archaeology. And thank God the public outrage flipped the script, because in early 2025, the trees got yanked, clearing the way for those eastern and southern slope scans that yielded fresh buildings and artifacts. Archaeologists have confirmed the roots were wreaking havoc on the below ground. Yes, it was a hard-won victory, but why was this even allowed to happen? The excavation head denied any full halt in 2024, yet the pace screams profit-driven, and whispers of a 150-year timeline feel like intentional slow walking.
You'll also note with this stone circle that is obviously maybe being recently dug up, there's another one up here, much higher up. It's a stone circle, stone circle, stone circle, and this gives you a representation of what the site looks like. Look at this.
Graham Hancock, I think, probably hits the nail on the head when it comes to this site. Göbekli Tepe, in my mind and his mind, is the tail end of a Lost Ice Age civilization where survivors from the Younger Hadrias cataclysm passed on advanced know-how. No slow evolution, it bursts into the scene fully formed. Pillar 43, a chronicle of that cosmic disaster. Andrew Collins is layered in the biblical Eden vibes with angelic watchers teaching forbidden arts. Corsetti amps up the cover-ups. Roofs and trees are tools to hide the truth. Mainstream experts push back hard. It's all hunter-gatherer brilliance, no need for pseudoscience. But the seismic studies reveal how quakes might have influenced those burials. And Rogan's 2024 chat with Corsetti ignited fresh debates. Göbekli Tepe is humanity's ultimate heritage puzzle. But the road to profit, from Doga deals to skyrocketing visitor numbers, is hampering our chance to solve it fully. If the Turkish authorities were watching this video and I could speak to them, I would ask them, why are they throttling these super important digs? Why roll the dice with these preservation risks? I'm yet to hear any real answers. We as a human race deserve better. We demand transparency. We need the excavations ramped up. Or for all I care, the tourists can stay away from the site while the excavations are done. There needs to be a real balance between tourism, dollars, and timeless truth.
Here we have a freshly planted olive tree, and you can see the olive trees just over here, just meters from the site, which is just here. Meters from the site. Yeah. Hello, Kat. How do you like living in Göbekli Tepe? How do you like living around here? How do you like living around here, Kat? Got a friend over here, haven't you? So not only do we have a roof that exposes the site to the elements and has drilled down into the site itself, and we have people walking around it where dust keeps going in, litter keeps getting dropped. We have dogs. We also have the resident cats. We have the resident cats of Göbekli Tepe. That is unfortunate. I love cats, but shouldn't this place that's 12,000 years old be preserved a little bit better? And shouldn't they be thinking about preservation and the excavation more than they're thinking about the tourism?
Now, the adventure doesn't stop there. I'm gearing up to travel to Ukraine very soon, chasing fresh frontiers and borders with their own ancient tales. What's your theory on this place? A lost civilization or sheer hunter-gatherer genius? Hit that like if it got you wondering, subscribe because it helps this channel grow, and share to spread the word.
Well, as I walk back down away from the tourists, waiting for their minibus to take them back down the lonely road, I'm pleased I've seen it. I'm really pleased I've seen it. Probably I'm frustrated that I couldn't get round to the back of the site. You may have seen there were cameras everywhere. cameras all over the place, so you couldn't get round to the back. I'm not going to disobey the rules and get kicked out of the country. It's not my style. In the same way that we see olive trees down here, there are olive trees at the top. I could see the heads of the olive trees in the distance, but I couldn't get to them, I couldn't film them. We only saw those 3 or 4 olive trees meters from the site, but we know they're on the other side. We know they're cutting into the hill. We know their roots are causing untold damage to thousands of years of history. I just wish profit wouldn't come before understanding and education. It would be more important for humans just to have a small team up here of archaeologists understanding what's going on up here rather than busloads and busloads of tourists. Now, I know I'm one of those tourists, but I think it's important to raise awareness and it's important to understand what is going on up here. This is not just important for this archaeological site, it's important for all archaeological sites. It's amazing how frequently around the world profit comes before preserving the past and learning from the past. We can do better. We can do better as a people. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this content. I really, really do hope you enjoyed this content. If you're interested in videos just like this, I have many more on the channel. And if you're interested in supporting this channel, you can join the Postcard Club, or you can join just as a friend, or you can buy me a coffee or buy me a beer. Either is always accepted, and it allows me to make these videos. Rental cars are not cheap. Hotels and flights to these places are not cheap. So your support enables these videos to happen. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep progressing, keep wandering. I'll see you next time.